Whether you just think a voiced heroine gives the MC more character or makes the game more lively overall, or know that more voiced lines will help your understanding and learning Japanese. Otome games with voiced heroines are kind of rare, so here are the games with voiced heroines I could find on not region-locked consoles. And I only counted fully voiced heroines, but have an honorable mention section for the partly voiced ones at the end of the video. Starting with the localized games, there we have the Psychedelica series of the Ashen Hawk or Black Butterfly, and both games tell stories about grief and death, very dark games, where you either find yourself in a mansion together with other guys, but with a severe case of amnesia, or the independent second part revolves around a witch hunt in a medieval town that forces the heroine to dress as a boy to hide her identity. These games do not focus very much on romance, but rather on telling a deep and twisted story. Norn 9 actually has 3 voiced heroines, with their 3 respective love interests, so 9 love interests overall, who find themselves on an airship and search for a way to return to their own time while discovering the secrets around their mission. Because all of them have kind of psychedelic powers and are warped back in time after a world war occurred. The biggest complaint about this title is that the story is a bit all over the place, but it's very dramatic, romantic and bittersweet. And all 3 heroines have very distinct characters, and together with their different LIs all shed a different light on the overarching plot. The game also has an anime adaptation, but it's highly recommended to play the game first to get the best of both of them. Bustafellows also has something to do with time travel, but this time you have the ability to travel back in time, but always end up in a different body then. After you've witnessed a man got shot, you are determined to travel back in time and warn him. Little did you know he's part of kind of a criminal organization executing their own justice you now get entangled with. A game with a very quirky cast of characters that feels more like a crime movie than an Otome game. You'll discover the past of each LI and the reason why he chose to be part of this group, and only at the end of each route get a little romance. In Barricade, the voiced heroine Hibari is a wealthy daughter who now has to marry. Your grandfather forces you to live together with 4 guys, one worse than the other. A gold digger, a debtor, a gambling addict and a marriage fraud guy. How is our inexperienced tsundere heroine supposed to find her happiness? No matter who you choose, you will surely laugh a lot. Recently announced for localization is the highly praised JackJeanne. In JackJeanne you sneak into an all-boys theater school despite being a girl, so soon also players in the West can experience this game with rhythm mini-games that isn't too romantic, as it more focuses on the development of friendship, which later turns into love. And you might notice the artist from Koukou. I think all people who played this game loved it quite a lot. So if you like rhythm games and stories about friendship, you might look forward to this localization. Ayakashi Gohan actually has an unofficial fan page for the PC. This is a wholesome game about family dinners. After both her parents died, the MC gets invited into the Ayakashi village of her childhood to move in an Ayakashi restaurant. What stands out about this game is not only the voiced heroine, but that you decide in the long common route how the MC will turn out to be. Would you be introverted or extroverted? The slightly gloomy Rin progresses on the human route, while the cheerful one advances on the Ayakashi path. So it can a bit feel like 2 games in one with vastly different heroines. This game focuses a lot on the warm feeling of friendship and family dinners, and not so much on romance. But I've heard that some people actually cried at the end, more like a good happy crying kind of way. Now coming to the unlocalized games, I tried to sort from beginner friendly to more intermediate, upper intermediate Japanese level, but as I haven't played them myself, it's more a guess. So if you've played them, please tell me how difficult these games actually are. I think Little 8 can be classified as a total beginner game, about a tomboyish and silly MC romancing her classmates in a very innocent fashion. Not very romantic and no plot, but mere school life fluff. The famous anime Ouran Host Club also has a game adaptation. It's generally beginner friendly but on the Nintendo DS, so the font might be a bit difficult to read. And that's the game to the famous anime. I think that's all I need to say. It's sweet and fluffy and a dream come true, especially if you were a fan of the twins in the anime. Miss Princess is also a beginner-friendly game, but also on the DS, that is probably targeted the youngest of Otome fans. As a rich girl, you have to find a butler to attend the princess contest, play minigames and innocently romance young guys. Your Memories of Girls Style is a spin-off I would classify as upper beginner level. As you work part-time in a cafe, you befriend a boy band you are a fan of. They even allow you to come to their studio, and as they hear you sing, want you to become part of their band. A rather old spin-off title with mediocre reviews. A more interesting title for me was Zettai Meikyuu Grimm. I would classify as upper beginner to lower intermediate level. And it's kind of a twisted fairy tale entry. The 10-year-old heroine lives happily pampered by her cousins, the 3 Grimm brothers. After she one night was enchanted by a creature in the forest, she and one of her brothers wake up 5 years later to find their village destroyed and the other brothers gone. On the quest to find out what happened, you romance male and female fairy tale characters and will be surprised by some very dark turns of this cute looking game. In Seishun Hajimemashita, you can choose between either the male or female protagonist, and depending on your gender, either romance the opposite sex or choose a friendship route with the same sex. The story is that you are sent back to your rural hometown and attend high school there. You reunite with your childhood friends and start a club called the Youth Club to do all the activities to really live your youth. This game mostly focuses on friendship and sweet interactions, but many reviews felt like the route length exceeded its welcome. So it got mediocre to negative reviews. And I almost forgot the My Next Life as a Villainess or Hermaphrodite game that also has a voiced heroine that is voiced by the same voice actor as in the anime adaptation. The My Next Life as a Villainess game can be seen as kind of the fan disc to the Fortune Lover game Katrina is isekai'd into in the main series. And in this part she reunites with her classmates on a ship for a post-graduation party, but this peaceful gathering is interrupted by pirates hijacking the ship. The game has received many positive reviews, is rather fluffy and light-hearted, but definitely also made for fans of the series. So if you're new to the series, you might not enjoy it as much as you would knowing all the backgrounds of the characters and their stories so far. Koezaru wa Akai Hana takes place in a land where women are scarce due to a disease. Even the heroine's mother was abducted by the neighboring country. She has been taken care of and is soon to be married to the prince of the country. But in one night, the Ikemen of the neighboring country attack again and hunt for her. You might have guessed from the plot, this game is rated 18+, but is still supposed to have a decent plot. What also stands out about this game to me is its alluring Eastern setting, what kind of reminds me of Jacono Lila, and the really great voice acting. And I should also note that the game has been censored for the console release and it's only rated as 17 and up, but not 18+ rating anymore. In SA7, the heroine's voice can be turned on or off. In Silent Ability 7, you are suddenly kidnapped by a group of people with strange abilities called Unknown, who want to obtain your parents' research. But you are rescued by another group with similar abilities called Arc, who you join and even find out you have abilities too. This game has mediocre to negative reviews due to a poorly executed plot and a lackluster traitor story. Sanzen Sekai Yuugi is another eroge on this list. The story is set in a world where you can traverse between multiple universes, kind of following the multiverse theory. The heroine works as a bounty hunter, and after they fought a cult, one of the members escaped and is out to hunt the MC's other self in another universe, because if your other self dies, you'll die too. So she sets out to find her other self. And what really stands out is this vamp, self-confident and assertive heroine, who often has witty banters with the allies. And I really love her nice, soft voice. Tsumikui Sen no Norio deals with topics like reincarnation and dealing with one's own past and identity. The reincarnated MC is cursed and has to kill 1,000 criminals to lift her curse, otherwise she will die herself. Also, the allies are reincarnations who have to deal with the traumatic memories from the past as they slowly start to remember. The game has an interesting and angsty yet very long story with a strong protagonist. The CGs even move, and the story is very gory and tragic. This Otome game is centered around a heavy plot and wordy lore. I would consider Atelier Elkrone as already an upper intermediate game because of the gameplay elements. The PSP Otome game to the Atelier series tells basically the same story as all Atelier games. You inherit the Atelier from your grandmother and promptly a little fairy wants you to make a special item for her and from then on becomes your mascot, while you brew and romance guys. The game looks similar to Atelier Dolona in style and has an overall fluffy atmosphere. Sadly, it's not very romantic and the characters can feel a bit similar to each other. An overall mediocre Otome game made for the fans of the Atelier series. Haruka Narutoki no Nakade, on the other hand, is a long ongoing series that combines visual novel with gameplay elements. And the 6th and 7th entry of this long ongoing series are now also on the Switch. In each entry you get isekai'd in the past or time travel and have to prove yourself in JRPG battles while romancing a lot of guys. These games are by Koei Tecmo's Ruby Party, the developers who first developed an Otome game with gameplay elements. Being in a historical and fighting setting, it is also not the most romantic, but overall has good reviews, if you like gameplay. And lastly, we have Sekai Buccaneers, where the MC dreams of becoming an adventurer on the vast ocean. One day, pirates help her get back her father's stolen sword, but these exact pirates are to be captured by the navy. After settling this dispute, she finds herself without home and without money, and has to decide whether she will venture out with the pirates or follow the command of the navy and their respective ikemen. This game is by the same developer as SA7, Petit Rêve, has some pretty art, though the heroine's voice acting has to be bought as in 600 yen DLC. Not the nicest thing to do, but considering you can get the game for around 15 bucks, it wouldn't also hurt much. The pirate setting feels quite unique, though the plot is slightly mediocre. Now some honorable mentions on the PS2, which I actually didn't want to include because the PS2 is region locked and it's kind of hard to get your hands on these games. In Love Root Zero Kiss, the story begins when the protagonist rejects the confession of a classmate and they are transported to the labyrinth where the failed feelings of love go. There they meet two fairies and some other students and they realize they have to fight Zero, the monster of rejected love, in order to be able to escape the labyrinth. In Mishima Roman Sabo, the protagonist wants to open her own tea house someday. Her parents give her a condition. If she can run their family confectionery store for a year without it going bankrupt, they will allow her to open her own shop. Etude Prologue is another game with multiple protagonists and different LIs on the PS2 and PSP about the feelings of high schoolers before graduation. Princess Nightmare is available on PS2 and PC. Little is a vampire whose family has been driven away by hunters and they are now forced to live in Japan. After she meets a human boy, she longs for a human life, and her father allows her to attend middle school for 2 years. And lastly, Under the Moon, an eroge by the same team of Ijiwaru My Master, available on PS2 and PC, about an on-the-run devil who lost her powers after she fell into the human world and is taken in by mysterious twins. And lastly, the games with partial voice acting, but only in super little parts. Those are Sweet Fuse, Keijikake no Apocalypse, the Arcana Familia games, but she only moans, kind of, and doesn't talk. Urakata Hakuoki games, the battle scenes are voiced. And in Want of Fortune 2 and the prologue of Want of Fortune, there are also little voiced parts. Do you know more games with voiced MCs, possibly on the PC? And for more learner-friendly Otome games, you can also watch my video about multilingual Otome games, where you can switch between languages and compare your translation. And that really helped me playing my first Otome game.